I am sure this is correct, but I'm saying it like that because I can't even believe it still happened, because I saw it once and never saw it again in all my football. Probably saying that never happened. But I am sure I saw Darren McCarty have at least half attendance at half time. I'll probably tell me it was at full time, but I'm pretty convinced at half time of that game, I think we were 2-3-0 down, and I'm sure I had in, and that was a bit of a wake up call, because I'd never had that in Elgin Youth. Your half time,
not at all.
All going for oranges and things at Boys League, and then there was a half ton of attendance.
What is it about Charlie? Because we've had so many boys that have played under him. If you could pick a key quality for Charlie as a manager, what would it be?
Well, you would call it man management, but he was charismatic.
Uh-huh.
He could get a player in, nobody else could. He could speak to somebody and make them want to come to Lossie, I felt.
Aye.
That's a talent. He could attract players to the club through his personality and the way he could talk.
Mm-hmm.
And you've heard other players saying they'd have put their head through a wall for him.
Aye.
I would have, and probably still would do anything for Charlie.
Yeah.
Because he had you.
Aye.
Well, he had you on strings. But he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And he would be great in here as well.
That's what we keep getting told. That's what we keep getting told. So Charlie, if you're listening,
Yeah,
come on in.
democracy has spoken. He won the poll by a mile, so
He did. Aye, we put up a poll a couple of weeks ago, and Charlie's name was top by a mile.
I voted for him.
Aye, there we go. So we need his side of things. Right, episode 63, Football Journals. Kev Stuart in house. Elgin Youth, New Elgin, Lossie, New Elgin again, Lossie again, Dufftown. How you doing, Kev? You right?
I'm grand. Yourself?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm glad to have somebody who's actually been in here before. Give Lossie United's podcast a wee check out if you want to see Kevin on our podcast. But it's a lot of folk are nervous and just you maybe are nervous, but you don't look it.
Nah, I'm good at faking it. It's still a bit unnatural to do it, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, it's been good for Lossie United, I think, just to kind of promote them. So, and delighted to come on this one, be an avid watcher and listener. Although I'm slightly worried about how many stories I've got, because I think Fletty just stole all them in the last episode I watched.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Fletty, because I went down to Fitba and I shared a pitch with Hulk on a Thursday. And I went to him and he was straight on the phone to Fletty. He was like, "What are you telling that story for?" And I stood there pissing myself laughing. But he says, I'll wait till McMullen's been on and then Hulk's going to come on and give us dirt on both of them. So.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
I certainly will. Right, you've watched before, Kev. My questions I was the same at the start. How good a football player were you as a kid? What age did you realise you had a bit of potential?
Cliche. Didn't really think about it. I don't think most people don't do that. I think everybody just enjoys playing football. Everybody has like dreams of becoming a professional football player. I probably wasn't any different. When I think back, what I did a lot of was playing against older kids.
Aye.
I was brought up in Les Murdy and played against people just out in the car park against the garages, and there were maybe 3-4-year-older Cole Taylor's dad, Kev.
Aye.
Boy Ian Walker, who was Ross and Liam Archibald's cousin. He's a couple of years older, so they were all pretty good to me, to be fair. There was never any rough patterns about or anything, but it was, if you wanted to score goals and you wanted to play well against them, you had to kind of
step up.
Aye, absolutely. So kind of think that was probably quite good. And then I remember being at school at East End at that point, and one of my highlights would have been that it must have been in P4, and I got up to the P7 team to play. I didn't really play. I think I got a last couple of minutes. Aye. I remember Chrissy Clark was in P7.
Right,
and Mo was there as well. And just the adulation of seeing them and thinking, so you kind of think you're pretty good, I think, against your peers, because you're getting picked. One or two boys for P4 are getting up. So yeah, I remember a couple of occasions where you get a chance to play against or up against older boys. And then in Boys League Classic, if you do pretty well, it would shock a lot of people, but in many ways it won't. That you start up front, you score a lot of goals. Even in midfield, you score a lot of goals in Boys League. And Boys League, great in it, because it gets, well, girls and boys now playing football. It doesn't matter your ability, but
you same as Abdia, starting off as a striker.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I think it was started really in midfield, and then I kind of flittingly went further up. and then progressively made your way back as you do, just stopping short at the back. So yeah, just I suppose probably in that teams, you're obviously kind of I believe you're put into like ones that are a wee bit better, and then the middlies, and then the ones that have less ability, if that's the right word at that age.
Aye.
But so you're probably just plugged in with whoever else you've got to try and make the team decent. But great times in boys league, just great times.
Like a Tiger not kicking about.
Yeah, a Tiger's been for me throughout the whole lot. But yeah, lots of really good people that you've heard. Mo's dad was Elgin City a lot, but a lot of parent volunteers at that point, obviously at boys league and the school football teams. So you got a lot to say for that, because I work at the school now and we're very lucky and supported by lots of parents at it. But it's not easy. It's a big task for a parent. So yeah, thankful for all the parents that kind of helped my guy Gordon Shanks, who was Lee Shanks' dad, and
I've done the school football myself. I took a couple of years ago, I took a Seafield team. They didn't have a team, so it was my old school. Now I went in, and it's difficult. It's really difficult because you've got so many kids to manage. You've got to normally set up your own pitch on the field somewhere.
Yeah.
Get fit bars, get messages out to school, even though you're not in school.
Yeah.
You're not employed by the school or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't even include PVGs for festivals, anything like that. And like, I was burnt out by a year a day. And
it's time consuming. Your festivals can be your whole day. They're long. It's a huge commitment. But obviously most people that are doing it have got children involved and want to see them thriving in that environment, because the parents probably did. But it's really good. But yeah, it wouldn't happen without them. So it's fantastic, and we were really lucky. I heard, I think Kevs fled in the last one that I heard. He said he didn't have a lot of school football, but I did have a lot of school football, to be honest. Between East End and then latterly going on to Greenwoods when I moved across town. And then I'm sure we had, before Elgin Youth Development started, I was in like an Elgin Colts team. I'm sure it was Elgin Colts it was called. And I would have been really young. I'd have maybe been about P4 then, P5, I think. And I'm not sure how the dynamics work, but I'm pretty sure Tiger was involved in it as well. And then it kind of fell apart. And again, I don't understand or remember the reasons. And then Tiger used to drive us, and other parents did as well, to be fair, to Glen Tanner in Aberdeen, because there was no youth. And I think, again, other people have mentioned going to Devon Side a lot. They were kind of this strong team, but we went to Glen Tanner, and he used to take myself, his son Mo Porter, and boy Matthew McGilvery, who's in Lossie, and Chrissy Ross, who went on to play Highland League as well, and his dad, I remember him giving us a lift a lot, and went through to Glen Tanner every week to our Aberdeen teams and played in the Aberdeen leagues. So again, that was a kind of understanding that you kind of probably were doing okay at football. At that point. And then, bizarrely, for me, when I went to high school, I actually had a major dip in football. Massive loss in confidence. Think maybe just didn't start off great. And then at Elgin City Youth, just didn't really respond to kind of, I've been quite a soft kid. And I didn't respond well to shouting or criticism delivered in that way.
Old school coaching.
A wee bit. Just really struggled with that. So I kind of went in my shell. I remember very vividly playing up at Invergordon, and I got a pass in midfield and tried to play it forward, and I lost it, and I got berated. And instead of rising to that, it just wasn't me at that time. I remember just playing side passes and keeping the ball. Because I just was scared, which sounds ridiculous, but I was scared to make a mistake and be criticised across the pitch. So I really struggled through secondary school.
They string people up for that these days.
I know. I mean, it's a hard one, isn't it? I mean, even thinking of kind of teaching, you can't avoid feedback and constructively. And for some kids, that works really well in a football pitch, and it has. And probably the majority of your guests that you've had on, they would say that worked really well for them. But it didn't for me. It actually put me in my shell and really struggled with football. Right through Elgin Youth. I thought I would have quit Elgin Youth if I didn't love Elgin City. I was unique at the time. Everybody supported the big teams. It's getting better now, but I loved Elgin. My dad was a massive Elgin fan, went to all the games. I think I only stayed because I really liked Elgin. I can remember going to training and not really wanting to.
Aye, I know what you're
But
saying.
I stuck it. I'm glad I did
Yeah.
because it came good for me.
How long was you at Elgin Youth?
It must have been 6-7 years.
Aye.
Certainly a bit part player. I mean,
Yeah.
I got game time, and I wasn't treated badly by MD. But
Mhm.
if we were in a bigger city, I'd have been released.
Aye,
But
okay.
there isn't a plentiful of boys,
Aye.
and there was no way I was ever chopping an Elgin store. And they obviously need a squad of boys to try and develop other ones, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
But in a bigger place, I would have been dropped out it, and who knows, maybe wouldn't have carried on playing football, which I'm grateful that I stuck it in and kept going, to be honest.
Absolutely. So kind of touching on for that, obviously you're saying Abdi had a bigger team. Who was your football idol growing up? Who was in the Elgin team?
My Elgin idol would have been a guy called Willie Furphy.
Aye. Had
Who
a lot of
would
talk.
have been around the champions winning league
Mhm.
time. And he was phenomenal. I remember, and that's centre half at that age. It's obviously not usually the person is a boy that you're admiring.
Yep.
I remember thinking he was like a Rolls Royce, so calm on the ball. But
Heard that a
Elgin at that time, great time to support Elgin at that age where
Mhm.
just they're your idols. I remember once going into Asda and Neil White passed me by and I said to my dad, "Here's Neil White," like he was a superstar. I've obviously met Neil, I've taught some of his kids and everything. It's just bizarre. But at that point, I was idolised.
Aye.
Just couldn't believe he shopped in Asda Elgin at the time.
Was there anyone on the bigger stage you looked up to?
Well, I was my dad was keen for me to support locally.
Aye.
So he tells me, a Celtic fan when he was younger, but he pushed me towards Aberdeen,
Mhm.
trying to keep it more local. So Aberdeen, so my Ian Jess would have been a classic.
Ian Jess, what a player.
Yeah, I just loved watching him. So
I think
entertaining.
he's so. See, when they talk about the great players of like the 90s and all that, he doesn't get enough mentions because he could have played for Celtic or Rangers, no bother Ian Jess.
Oh, he was very good. He was really good. He was, you know what he was? He was entertaining.
Aye.
You know, he was.
Yeah.
I mean, his goals and assists, I assume, without checking, would have been a good standard as well.
Mhm.
But he was so entertaining to watch. He just mesmerising at times. Just how keeping the ball in tight areas and things, and just an assurance about him that just made you idolise him as an Aberdeen fan. And you collect your sticker books and all that.
That's
He'd
it.
been the one.
Aye. Oh, that's memories. Like, aye, spending a fortune on just taking this big pile that swaps.
I'd probably even Airdrie boys then. I just can't even swap them.
And then when you find out that Kenny's only for 30 mile down the road, and it's like bound to give you a bit of inspiration as a bairn, you know.
Yeah, I
almost.
think so. He obviously would. I think I would have been told that as a kid that he's pretty local and everybody harbours the dream, don't they?
That's it.
Of playing football at a professional level. And I do remember once, ironically, walking to football, a good mate of mine, Scott Dunbar, and I do remember at one point, we would have been in secondary school and we'd said, I'd be happy to play football in the Highland League.
Aye.
And most people at that age probably think, like, still hoping to make it professionally. But I remember thinking, I'd just love to play Highland League. But again, I was an Elgin fan, and that was my team. So probably was to play for Elgin, which obviously never happened. But yeah, I was happy playing the Highland League by the end of it. I was really delighted to get that far.
Aye. What was your first taste of adult football?
So at the end of Elgin City, Gary Wood started helping out.
Gary, aye.
Couldn't speak highly enough of Gary. And he took a few of us, including the boy Scott Dunbar, to New Elgin. And Minnie must have been there. Don't know if they followed the same route, as in if they went somewhere and then came. And Boo and a few others that I played with. And yeah, that was straight into a pre-season with New Elgin, which I think was okay. I think I handled that okay. And then I kind of remember my first game I didn't play, but was against Kinloss. And
the RAF.
Yeah, they used to have a RAF team. And
Tars, I'm sure, played for them.
He possibly did. I don't really remember. I wouldn't have played against Tars. And I didn't really play that at that point either, to be perfectly honest, but it was my introduction. And it was just totally different. Like the level of language, as you can imagine, was totally different. The aggression, not in a terrible way, but was obviously a far more physical game. I remember watching. And what I really remember about that game was that at Kinloss, you used to go back to you walked through a nursery and then up the stairs, and they had like their own club upstairs. And they used to award a man of the match for the away team, which in itself is bizarre.
Aye, that is.
But they used to give you a yard of ale, and you had to down it there and then. And I still couldn't take 5 sips of a beer
Aye.
at this age, never mind at 16, 17 when I was doing that. And I remember thinking, well, I wouldn't even want to get man of the match at his game, because I would just make an absolute fool of myself. And then I can't even remember who won it, but I remember it again, filled up again, passed around, and it was just
Carnage.
bedlam. Bedlam. Absolute bedlam. So that would have been my first like involvement with the man's game. And then I remember another one where the Scottish Cup or the Junior Cup, you had to be in like an enclosed ground, and New Elgin's at that point wasn't enclosed.
Aye, okay.
So they must have had to get their games elsewhere, and one of them was at Birkhead. And I am sure this is correct, but I'm saying it like that because I can't even believe it still happened, because I saw it once and never saw it again in all my football. And I'm even tempted to name drop him just because, but he'll probably say that never happened. But I am sure I saw Dara McCarty
Aye.
have at least half attendance at halftime. I am sure I did. He'll probably tell me I was at full time, but I'm pretty convinced at halftime of that game, I think we were 2-3-0 down. And I remember being in Birkhead's changing room, and they used to put parks of tenants, must have sponsored it then.
Aye.
And they used to put a couple of parks of tenants in. And I'm sure I had in. And that was a bit of a wake up call, because I'd never had that in Elgin Youth. That you're
No, not at all.
All going for oranges and things at Boys League, and then there was a half tin of tenants. So that was my first kind of experiences. But then I wasn't really getting any game time, which again, totally understand. There was better players than me at that time.
Aye.
I had not really proved anything to Gary before that
Where
was
would
coming
you
on
be
anything.
Field are you playing at this point? You in midfield? You
No, I would have been at the back by then. I would have been at but then at Elgin I would have been mainly at the back. And probably not the athleticism or the height or anything. I was quite a late in terms of growing. So my lucky break really was, for my whole career, was I think they were really short. New Elgin were just really short in numbers.
Aye.
Really, really short. And Gary said, I kind of went back to work on Saturdays then, and I was still training. And he said, can you get off your work? I need you on Saturday. So I went and asked my work, and I got off, and just played really well. Just that one game against a team that would have been in the Super League then.
Okay.
I think, no, it wouldn't have been the Super League because it was regionalised.
Aye, yeah.
This side had a really strong, I don't know how many teams were in it, but maybe as much as 16 teams were in it. And the east side was all Aberdeen teams, so it was an east side, and we were I knew we weren't favourites for it. I played really well, and we won the cup game, and I just developed confidence in me to go, and then I got a bit of pace back that I'd kind of, don't know, lost, but whether it was growing, and I just had matured out of that.
Aye.
And kind of flourished to a certain degree from there, and took other folks' positions, much to their annoyance, and then kicked on from there. So that was my adult football, and I was lucky because I had good people around me who helped me. You know, you hear other stories, right enough about, you know, the physical side and all that. But I had a guy, Kev Wood, his brother, next to me, and he absolutely, I shouted it out, protected me for my first 3 years, whether it was from teammates who were criticising me, or whether it was the opposition.
Aye.
And Kev's a gentle giant, but he could handle himself.
Yeah,
and
I know Kev quite well. And he's still a gentle giant. But was he ferocious on the pitch? Like,
I don't even know if he was ferocious on the pitch. He was strong and he was wholehearted, and you knew you were in. He'd have been a classic junior player for then. You know, just 100% commitment. He wasn't ferocious, and he wasn't like ugly or dirty. I don't really remember. No more than anybody else would have been.
Yeah.
But if something flipped and he was protective, he was right over there, and he could sling them. And people, he obviously had I felt he had a name of respect that folk wouldn't have challenged him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have challenged him. No way. No, I still wouldn't have. Not a chance. So yeah, he was really good for me.
Aye, brilliant. Right, so before we get into New Elgin, I'm going to, because in them teams, obviously there's quite a lot to go through. I'm going to throw this in early today. Best player you've played with in your career?
Oh, tricky. I mean, it is tricky when you're obviously thinking of this. Best player I played with. I mean, obviously, a lot of the people that I played with, and you've heard in your other ones, a lot of regular names come up, which is really fair. Mark McMullen was so committed and so athletic and so effective at what he did.
Aye.
And Biscuits, right enough, was a game changer for us, mainly at Lossie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where I played with him. And goal out of nothing, he took your team from kind of being there to quite a significant
Of course,
threat against the opposition. And for Lossie, money was never an option, so having the local boy who would come and play for you.
Aye.
I don't know how Lossie would have got anybody else who would have been similar, because that's where money really comes into the game.
Aye.
So they would be right up there. But one I wanted to throw in that I don't think's been heard, and I thought he was a bit of a Rolls Royce player, and the person I enjoyed playing with the most was a boy, JJ Uckert.
I've seen that name in your 11. Aye, it's not a name I've come across before.
Oh, I thought he was phenomenal. And I'm a bit surprised he's not in more teams.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised I'm not in MD's team. I know what my strengths were, and it wasn't, believe it or not, playing football, to be honest. There was other attributes I had. He was a good player.
Aye.
He was good in the air. A wand or a left foot. His distribution out from the back was really good. Communication, good tackler. I loved playing with him. I wasn't really a great football player.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay at winning the ball, communicating and organising and that things. I would just try and win the ball and give it to JJ, and he'd pick boys out. And he was very good. He could play midfield as well, and he was very good.
Yeah.
Folk would say he lacked a bit of pace, but he was pacey enough at the back that he never really got caught out.
Aye.
And I wouldn't say he was better than Martin McMullen in his position or Biscuits, but he was right up there for me.
Aye.
He was a really, really good player.
Just kind of to expand the question further, is there anyone you played with that was really talented that probably didn't fulfill their full potential? I'm going to start adding that into the podcast, because there's a few folk that says, oh, so-and-so been a great player that stuck their head down and concentrating on it, or it's not always a negative thing.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, sometimes the just stars don't align for certain individuals, and I mean, there was a great player, I'm sure he's been mentioned before, Dan Smith. He was a phenomenal player. Yeah. He was a boy that Charlie took into Lossie, and he originally was up in Leeds, and I think he even was in Leeds Youth as a youngster. And he was a bit like the Jamie Bagley story. He came down, you saw this wee boy and you thought, who's this? And he was phenomenal.
Yeah. And
it wasn't that he didn't fill his potential, because I actually believe he's went on to have a really good academic career. Very intelligent boy as well. He was just probably just a little bit too small.
Okay.
And obviously if you're a little bit smaller, you have to be outstanding really to make your way up the leagues.
You really do.
But he was such a good player. He was a joy to watch. I remember him being doing it training and thinking, he was juggling the ball, and he used to flick it on his back of his neck and flick it back up in all the shoulders, and he used, without moving an inch off his spot. My lack of attributes meant, well, let's welcome him to Lossie and try and get close, and I couldn't really get that close to him. He was just good, and if he did, he'd go back up.
Aye.
And he went away to Aberdeen Uni, and he played for the uni team, and I think he had options of good Highland League clubs.
Yeah.
He would have been one I would have loved to have seen go further.
Yep.
But I suppose if it been Biscuits is one that probably should have went further.
Aye.
No, he probably should have. And he's had a great career in the Highland League, and yeah. I think a lot of them probably that I played with in reality did meet their potentials.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't meet it with me at Lossie. They went to teams that were further up the leagues at that point.
Aye.
So
I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Flip side of it, played against. So try to think, you'd have been playing against. We can do it almost by position, but you'd have played against a glory era strikers in the Highland League.
Yeah.
Your Cammy Keefs, play against Scott Barber at all?
Yeah, I did.
Aye.
I've got he'll never remember this, but I remember it quite vividly. I'd got injured. Shock, that's not a lot. I got a few hamstring injuries in my career, and was never a good player to just go back into football. I had to get myself up to speed, so I went out on loan to Lossiemouth United, for 3 weeks, I think, and 2 of the games were against Scott Barber, which I think was Buckenhaven Hearts. I'm sure it wasn't Fraserburgh United. I'm pretty sure it was Buckenhaven Hearts. And I remember the first game playing against him. I thought he was really decent, and I just played the game. And then the second game was here at now Phoenix Park, and he would have been so young. He must have been about 15.
Yeah.
And I'm getting in his feet, and he kept rolling into me, which was so easy for me at that point to tackle him because he was smaller than me. He didn't have the strength at that point.
Yeah.
And he was making kind of poor choices as a striker to roll into your centre half. It was just easy to take a ball. And I must have sounded so arrogant. I didn't even mean it that. And I was like, you can't do that. You can't just keep turning into me. I'm just going to win it every single time. Like I was coaching this boy 15 in the opposition. And again, he'll never remember that. But I remember thinking he's got so much talent. But he certainly went on to have, in that one game, I saw him 2 games, a phenomenal career. Because when I did play against him later on at Fraserburgh, him and a boy, Gizzy, I think his name was, ginger-headed lad, 2 of them were so good at Fraserburgh.
Yeah.
Oh, so difficult to play against. So they would have been both right up there as some of the toughest.
Before you give me the best player you played against, if there's one you don't want to play against, like Gethins, Keith, Barber, Neil Gold, all these kind of lads, who's the least you would look forward to playing against?
Ian Murray,
Moby. Yeah.
What a fear.
Aye.
My first game for Lossie after moving from New Elgin to Lossie, not my first one, but I played a trial game. I played a trial game against Broda when, again, they weren't quite where they are now. And there was a boy, I think Connor Campbell was his name, and he was at Ross County, Elgin.
Yep.
And I enjoyed watching him. And then he was playing against me. I was directly against him as a trialist at the end of Lossie's season petering out, and they used to take a couple of trialists and see you go. And I played pretty well against him. I think we won 1-0. And I must have been in my head overconfident, thinking I'm doing really well at New Elgin, won a league twice. And here I go against the boy for Elgin, and I've actually snuffed him out.
Aye.
Fast forward pre-season, and then my first game was against Devon Vale, and they were either champions before, champions that year, or possibly both, but the best team in the league.
Yeah.
And in the first 20 minutes of that game, I am fairly confident they were up 2 or 3-0, hit the post 3 times, and I didn't touch the ball. The pace was unreal.
Yep.
Just whizzing past you. Boof, boof, just couldn't get near anybody. And again, I think Fletty said about Mike Murray and Ian Murray at that time. Mike McKenzie, sorry, and Ian Murray.
Yeah.
Sorry, were just a great foy because the type of style they played.
They were made for each other.
Oh, brilliant. Aye. And obviously the whole team was excellent. And that was a shock.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, this is a level. Having been at New Elgin where you probably defended in spells, to really, in the Highland League at that point, defending for 90 minutes and holding on for as long as you could to try and nick something.
Yep.
I wasn't nicking anything that day. I was lucky if I nicked the ball once. They were unbelievable. And he was a bit of a thorn all the way through. I thought he was different level of those different level players for me.
Aye, absolutely. Did you say he was the best you played against, or you think anyone?
On a regular basis, he would have been. One player who gave me a really hard time and then played with him later was a boy, Ricky Wardrobe.
Aye, we've had a few mentions of Ricky.
Well, he could turn so quick on a doopy, just poof, away.
Yeah.
And obviously me being tall and him, he's not small to be fair, not really small, but he used that asset well against me, and he caused me 2 nightmares, once at Forest Thistle and once at Forest, really tricky games.
Yeah.
And probably the hardest game I had against was David Goodwillie. He was phenomenal.
Was that at Dundee United?
Yeah, so that's when he'd had, I think, he's obviously had a controversial career, but one of his first controversies, which I think was like a drinking thing.
Okay.
And I think Dundee United had said to him, he was with the first team, but they put him within under 20s, 19s, whatever it was. And he had to prove himself that summer.
Yeah.
Or he was off. And it was a last chance saloon for him. Charlie knew the coach at Dundee United. I think it was Martin's coach at Cali, but he'd moved to Dundee.
Right.
So we used to play them once or twice. I think we had Ryan Gold and we ring up once a couple of times when they were young boys. But Good Willie was on a mission that day.
Aye.
And he absolutely tore me apart. And I remember we're running down the line and he would have torn me apart about 4 or 5 times. He's probably about 4 goals by that point. And I thought, I don't care, I'm just going to try and bin him. I'm just going to bin him. And all I mind is sitting on the deck and I'm going through in goals. He'd absolutely bin me again. He was so strong, so pacey, just unbelievably good. And I remember for us, we get beat about 8-9-0 that day. And I think he scored about 7 of them. And I remember Forrest, they were, you know, a lot of the Forrest boys, it was good camaraderie and insidious, but they were obviously laughing. And I think it was maybe Neil, I wonder if it was Neil White's testimonial, or maybe they had a friendly as well. But he did exactly the same to them about a week or 2 later as well, and maybe they got 7 or something like that. He was just phenomenal. And he was only, that's when he went to Dundee United, and then that's when he made his move for $1.5 million to Blackburn.
Aye.
Must have only been about 6-7 months later, I think, into the season. So, unbelievable. I couldn't imagine the levels of difference was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So far away from it.
Aye.
And you have to put your hands up and say,
it's when you think you play against good players every week in the Highland League and you see that's just the next level.
And well, I'm hoping the next 3 or 4, because that was the next level. I was miles away from it. He was so good. Well, a point to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, he was certainly taking the opportunity.
Absolutely. Right, well, dear, we shout out. Ryan, you're going to have to help me here on this one because we've changed up the layout for the Football Journal's season tickets.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not looking for a full year's, well, we are looking for a full year's sponsorship, but
yeah, we're trying to make it more accessible.
Try to make it a bit different.
Tough economy out there, isn't it? So
absolutely. So if you're interested in getting your business name, your personal name, whatever it is, onto the podcast, give us a shout because we're doing essentially giving it away for £100 for that whole year, calendar year. And what that'll include is a free Patreon for the year, which is worth £60 alone, which I was thinking in my head, it was actually only £40 you're really paying for your sponsor. But you'll get mentioned on all our social media platforms.
Ad reads, all that kind of malarkey.
Yeah, ad reads.
Look at what Chris Foot got last year. Look how many times he was mentioned. So
unbelievable. People were getting sick of the sound of that advert.
I think people bought the Patreon alone to get rid of
that. We've got 6,500 people following us. We're getting about 10,000 views a month on all our platforms. If the TikToks are and that's not including our Facebook Reels. Our Facebook Reels do really well. Some of them are like 100,000 views. But yeah, get in touch with us. There's an email, footballjournalspod@gmail.com, or you can give me a message on Messenger, or if you know me, a lot of people have got my phone number these days, which I don't like, but that's part of football. You'll know that, Kev. You end up with everyone's phone number. And
we did delete some.
Yeah. But also, if you're not interested in doing that, just give us a follow. YouTube. Ryan managed to work wonders and get the Spotify ratings up a good bit, so I'm hoping it's actually visible to a bit more people.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there's a few in the comments that said they didn't even realise it was on Spotify. So
YouTube's a big one. If you can follow us on YouTube, we're starting to make progress on that. I wanted to try and get to 400 by the end of the year. I think we're already on 30 in the last month, and we're up to about 270 odd. So yeah, give us a follow, give us a rating, give us a message. You know, if you're enjoying the podcast, actually perks of having the podcast. I got offered free tickets to an Elgin City game a couple of weeks ago. I get games for free because I'm staff. Yeah. But the guy was like, really enjoy the podcast, come at the game, do you want 2 tickets for tomorrow? And I just felt like saying, that's just a nice gesture, you know. Nice, I appreciate that. So thank you. And if you are enjoying it, just don't ask me for a photo out in public, please, because that was the most embarrassing moment of my life. Right, let's get back on with the pod. Kev, you were quite successful at New Elgin. You played in a very strong team.
2 strong teams, I would say.
Yeah, 2 strong teams. Out of the 2, who would you say was a better team?
That's not fair, is it?
No, it's not.
I think I know which one it was, but it's not fair in the sense that they were both really strong teams.
Yeah.
It was, for me, and probably because I was the younger one and had a lot of admiration for the people I was playing with, would have been the first spell I was there.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal junior team at that point.
Yeah.
And I actually had to write down some of the names. I mean, some of the names were, well, Minnie was our goalkeeper. I was so blessed to be. Minnie was high school goalie, Elgin youth, New Elgin, went to Lossiemouth with him. So
Aye.
I had Minnie behind me, which is...
You were a few hundred games with him then.
Yeah, and
Aye.
that helped you as a defender as well, because you knew you could put strikers into a position that you were confident Minnie would handle.
Mm-hmm.
So that made your game a bit easier to try and nullify.
We've heard a lot of stories, but what was your experience of Minnie in the dressing room?
They're probably all the same. See, I was kind of heartened to hear in his own interview with yourself, you know, he is such a calm guy all other times,
mental.
and he's such a likeable person.
Yeah.
He's just as he should be, and that was just his way, just that flick. But his flick started the night before, as you've probably heard, and he ran up the stairs countless times, and then he jumped in a bath and used to have a bowl of shreddies. That was his thing. Just mental. But that was obviously just his routine. I changed my routine all the way through, but he stuck with his, and it obviously worked because he was excellent. And then, in the changing room, he was, I never really had a sub goalie at Lossie. We had harsh, but we had a guy Craig Master and so on, but they could never oust Minnie out if he wasn't injured, because Minnie was excellent.
Yeah.
But he never really needed a number two either, because his attitude was so good.
Aye.
First one out training, last one in, game day. We were all still getting changed. He's out doing some sort of yoga of keeping himself as the most flexible guy I've ever seen. So yeah, all the stories are true, but I don't think he could have won a Highland League, in my opinion.
Aye.
He could have won a Highland League. He could have put time in the right team at the right time. Like I say, he was good enough to be a Highland League winner, in my opinion.
Yeah. What else was in the New Elgin team?
Lots of ones you would have heard of. Craig Arnott, I heard Tiger speaking about him. Great player. So laid back. Probably too laid back in some ways, but phenomenal. Boo was there. Mark Sim, Stuart Staff D, grew up with them. Nishi, Ross McCarty, they'd came down. Stewie Cameron, he had a lot of coaching. Phenomenal player.
Hell of a coach as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If I was trying to take inspiration for somebody, that would be himself. And obviously I'll speak highly of Charlie as well. And there's others, but yeah, of course. Brand new. But a great player, first and foremost. Craig Morrison. I'm sure you've heard about him, but he did really well at New Elgin and Lossie and Keith and Turriff and other clubs. Mark White, Daz Watson, Barry Ellis, a guy Andy Monroe, Daniel Ford. Now I think all of them, and there's others, barring two of them, played Highland League, either on the way down and they were coming down the way, or the rest of them made it up in the next year or two. So that was a really strong
high quality.
Normally in a junior team you get 4 or 5 who maybe Highland League there or there's about, and you've got other ones who are the good junior players. That was a team full of Highland League potential, or Highland League had been there, and it was a phenomenal team. I think we went 18 months in the league undefeated.
And it was a strong league at the time.
Yeah. Forest Thistle were the really strong team at that time. Really strong. Strathspey were still in the league. Don't know if Dufftown still were then.
Best
when
still
I
in
first,
the league?
yeah. When I first went into it, it was really strong. If I had a wish, it would be that junior football was back to that league. It was so good. So many good, strong teams. Just more people played football, I think.
Aye.
So every team, I remember when I first started at New Elgin, there must have been about 8 teams that were very good. Very good. You would, New Elgin were, when I first started, about 5th, 6th, somewhere about there. 8 of that teams were all very good, very difficult to defeat. You maybe had a couple of teams at the bottom, but I think that league, like I said before, must have had about 16 teams in it. It was a great junior league. And then I think they just played a playoff of whoever was first in that league. against the East League Aberdeen, and that's who was crowned as top for North Region.
Aye.
And I miss that to a certain degree, because I think what juniors did was make football accessible for people who had other commitments, families and things like that.
Yeah.
And it was a different time then where men probably weren't as committed, but as I see it changing now, there would be room for that. But I just don't think, there's just not enough people play football now.
I don't think so. And I've watched a few junior games, and it's all young loons these days.
Oh,
It's
I
all young loons, and there was always young loons, but you always had them experienced heads to go
Yeah.
along with it.
In fact, Lossiemouth United's probably one of the older ones.
Aye.
And that's what I would say was one of the reasons we were successful.
Mm-hmm.
We had that good blend that I had at New Elgin.
Yeah.
First time and second time.
Aye. Yeah, it definitely helps. 100%.
So they were very good. The second team after Lossie, I won 2 leagues at the first time. And then when I went back, we won the league as well. And the league was possibly, arguably, harder to win because it was an Aberdeenshire league then.
Aye.
And albeit it was you moved into the Super League after that, but that was a tough league to win. And there was a lot of good players in it as well. I was obviously one of the experienced ones coming down at that point, but there was a lot of good young players in that team as well. It was a
lot of boys went on to have Highland League careers afterwards. And
or even just good juniors. I mean, one of them is the boy Connor McKenzie, who's at Lossiemouth United now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got his own reasons for not stepping up to Highland League, but he was and potentially still could be a Highland League player now. I think he had, before we signed him for Lossiemouth United, he moved back up here. Year before, I think locals were inquiring for him, and he's had lots of offers, but he just stayed in juniors. So there's nothing absolutely. There's always this push, isn't there? Can you get up to Highland League? But he enjoyed it, whether it worked for him and his family or whatever the reasons were. There's nothing wrong with that, and I wouldn't take away from how good a player he was because he stayed in juniors.
It's a bit like, and it's hard to relate it, but it's a bit like our women's game. We're obviously in the 4th tier, and there's a few players I've tried to sign for the league below us, and they're just not interested because they're quite like the level they're at, and enjoying it. And sometimes I can think it can be sometimes enjoying your football rather than struggling every week to just try and keep up with the pace and things like that, and can be the difference for someone, especially when you're not like getting paid much.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's obviously, you might just be at a club that you're really happy. And there's a lot to be said for that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really go around too many clubs either. I was happy at New Elgin as a youngster. Probably did the 2 leagues and probably thought, well, I'm ambitious to try and do better, and I've probably done as much as I can do in juniors apart from continuing to win more, which would have been fine as well. But fancied the push and then stayed at Lossie, and particularly with Charlie there, was happy that there was progression and was happy in that environment, and then happy to go back to New Elgin, and then Lartley obviously went to Dufftown for different reasons as well. But I was never a boy looking for other clubs, because if you found a club that we were happy with, that's what you were there for at that point. I wasn't there to make money. I was there to make memories and enjoy myself.
Absolutely.
And I have no regrets about that at all. It's what is often overshadowed, I think.
Aye. No, there's a lot to be said about that. It's, as I say, it's not always about pushing yourself, it's about enjoying your career. You get short careers.
100%.
And the more you can enjoy it, potentially win things, it makes your career at the end of the day.
Definitely. 100%.
Right, so as an Elgin loon, what was it like signing for Lossie?
To be fair, I always thought the Lossie fans, most people would probably say this about their own clubs they've played for, but I thought Lossie fans were great. It was not a huge amount of them compared to maybe locals, and Buckyhead always a big following, but they had your back, Lossie ones.
Aye.
Difficult times at times. When I first joined Lossie, we must have finished second bottom or something like that. We weren't great at all.
Fast signed you for Lossie?
Tommy Madden.
Yeah, we've had a few mentions. Tommy.
Tommy was good for me. Nice guy, really nice guy. I think he's moved back to Aberdeen, and I think he was really successful as Lossie as a player. Mm-hmm. And he signed me and Minnie at the same time I signed in Minnie's kitchen. Tommy was there. It just didn't go well for him. Just here, Lossie's a difficult club to manage, and it's a difficult club at times to get players in.
Aye.
And I really went to Lossie. Didn't know Tommy, but I really went to Lossie because there was a magnitude of players there that I knew either had been at New Elgin or just knew them as well.
Yeah.
Craigie Moe went, Dazzy Watson, Minnie was going, Whitey was there. Newley, Moyer, Dixon and things were all... So that was the attraction for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't really have plentiful of options either. I'm not pretending that there was heaps of options, but it was a safe place for me to go.
Aye.
So yeah, Tommy found it hard, I think, to get the recruitment in because there money wasn't the thing.
No.
And other clubs in the local area were doing better, so they were picking up other players either through other means or better facilities, you know.
Yeah.
So I felt for him, but he stayed about a year. Rob came in. He was his assistant manager, and he did it for a very short period of time. And he went, I think, tempted to say Strathspey. No, Rothes it was. Rothes. And that was us at absolute probably the bottom at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And Charlie came in, and I remember I kind of loosely knew Charlie. Charlie instantly was good. He was good. Straight away, one-on-one conversation, first training session, with your thoughts. So you instantly feel valued, and you're giving your thoughts. And he can still remember the conversation. He cited to me the conversation we had 20 years later.
Yeah.
So he didn't just listen, he listened, and he obviously struck a chord with him. So, and then he had me hooked. I would have left if it wasn't Charlie then, because I wasn't enjoying my football. And I take admiration off to these clubs where people turn up week in, week out and they get beat every week. I wasn't necessarily wanting a club that won every week. That wasn't what it was all about. I stayed at Lossiemouth, we didn't win every week. But I wanted to be at a club that wanted to win or wanted to do better.
Aye.
And I didn't feel at that club that Lossie at the minute was going anywhere. But Charlie had me hooked, and he said, give me a year. And then I think I stayed another 6.5 weeks. And that was me.
What is it about Charlie? Because we've had so many boys that have played under him. If you could pick a key quality for Charlie as a manager, what would it be?
Well, you would call it man management, but he was charismatic. He could get a player in that nobody else could for Lossie.
Yeah.
He could speak to somebody and make them want to come to Lossie, I felt.
Aye.
That's a talent.
Aye, absolutely.
You know, again, no real, any money we had that we get paid, and for years we were going unpaid because the club was at that point struggling. Any money we had was spent within the first hour afterwards in drinks in the social club. That's how much it was. I mean, that was our motivation as well.
Yeah.
You see these Aberdeen clubs that would brown envelopes and then they'd go straight up the road, no drinks after the game and stuff like that. That was our motivation. Almost Alex Ferguson-esque Aberdeen against the Glasgow teams and all that stuff. Charlie was good at that, but he could attract players to the club through his personality and the way he could talk. And you've heard other players saying they'd have put their head through a wall for him.
Aye.
I would have and probably still would do anything for Charlie.
Yeah.
Because he had you.
Aye.
Well, he had you on strings. But he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And he would be great in here as well.
That's what we keep getting told. That's what we keep getting told. So, Charlie, if you're listening, come on in.
Democracy has spoken. He won the poll by a mile. So
he did. We put up a poll a couple of weeks ago, and Charlie's name was top by a mile.
I voted for him.
Aye, there we go. So we need his side of things, but started bringing in a lot of quality to the team, didn't he?
Yeah. Slowly but surely. Well, not slowly. I suppose the way you look at it. But every year there was progress.
Aye.
Every year, progress. Recruitment was a big part, as you mentioned. Cotter played a big part in that as well. In the sense of, so the coaching was good.
Yeah.
And I would say, up to that point, no disrespect, but to the anybody else before, but that was me starting to get real coaching.
Aye.
Not real coaching, but coaching that upped my game.
Felt you were improving.
Well, I think previously I'd improved because I'd got older, experienced, stronger, faster. All the things that came with a bit of age.
Yeah.
From a young adolescent into adult football. And you pick up things from players and things.
You do.
But that was the first time I had two people giving advice in game prep and training and knowing exactly what they wanted from you.
Yeah.
Whether you could deliver it was another point. That's what you tried to do and you gave 100%. But the two of them were very good coaching. And Charlie added, I mean, again, you've heard. I mean, Charlie must have went through heaps of boys. And having been there with Lossie United and a different juniors, I totally get it. You get word somebody's good. There's no way you're risking this player not coming down for training sessions on the off chance that they're rubbish because there might be a pearl or a player and you've missed them.
Exactly.
So you say, yep, come down. And some of them were very good, to be fair. I forget there was a left back. Charlie would maybe remember him, and he was really good. He was in the rough. Stayed a year and away. But he had some pelters as well. Absolute, some corkers. I remember once. So again, one way he was good at keeping you in. And I would have been captain at the time for Lossie. So season was finishing, and he told me, I don't know if he told maybe McMullen and things as well, but he told certainly me the players he was keeping, retaining. So what Charlie used to do is he used to send a letter to you, and that's another thing he did. He upped the professionalism hugely.
Aye.
He sent a letter that came to you. I think he delivered it, but it came to your house during the break, and it was a thank you. This is when pre-season starts. This is suggested friendlies. This is suggested activities you should do. Please stay away from running and all this stuff to recover. Great letter. And he got a phone call. I'll not name drop the person because it's terrible, really. He got a phone call from somebody that Charlie wanted to basically say you're not coming back because they weren't good enough. He got a phone call saying, "Hi, Charlie, thanks very much. I'm delighted that you've managed to keep me on. I didn't really think I stood a chance." So he'd obviously sent this letter out by mistake because he'd had that many players. So this player was on full pretense that he was coming back, and I think he was in the RAF, and I think he went back for wherever he stayed, probably somewhere in England for the summer. Poor Charlie, as soon as he got up, had to go around and say, the letter was a mistake, I shouldn't have sent it. I thought, I would never have done that job.
Nah.
So he went through plenty of players,
Aye.
but he knew the ones to keep. And primarily, the players he did keep were also local, which helped create a good changing room.
Aye.
Not because they weren't local, but they were consistently there.
Yeah.
They were there at every training session, and we socialised all the time. I think every second week you were out. And it was in the social club, or, I've been on players at the times, there's Blacknans, or whether it's been at their weddings, and obviously nights out that you see, kind of silly ones, whether it's pub golf or all the kind of classic stuff. But they were tight, and I was never really a lad. I wasn't a lad.
Yeah.
I liked being around it, and never ever, despite not being a lad, ever felt I wasn't part of it. It was just such a nice environment to be around. Yeah. And yeah, he struck all that well. With better players in, great changing room, great coaching, and it up-levelled Lossie to the best they've probably been for a while. Yeah.
I spoke to Craig Christie before you came on. Right. Catch up with Craig quite regular and things like that. He says Lossie, certainly their backline in the midfield, he says, they didn't pick up a lot of wins, but a lot of tough guys in there, a lot of guys that you've taken to battle with you.
I'm not sure you include me in that. Yeah. I think obviously as the seasons went on, we picked up more and more wins. We kind of were, I think probably finished. I mean, great respect to folk at one Highland League, it wouldn't seem like much, but from where we came, going up towards 7th in the league, kind of just below the big money boys, was a good development for the club. A great platform, and it was sad that it kind of fell away, mainly because Charlie was the linchpin and he moved away, and that's how it fell apart ultimately, despite his best efforts to make sure it didn't. But yeah, I had great players around me, and like I say, better players than I was. And whether it was Jum, great player, Sam Milton, great player, JJ that I mentioned, and Chrissy Ross, and Boyd Donaldson, and then midfield was Stevie Ellis was a great player. Yeah, I was at secondary with him and through school, always really talented. And Gary McDonald was a great player. You don't hear him getting spoken about much. Really good. Tony Ross, they're just all really good players, but good heart. And we had snippets of quality. But what Craig's probably touching on was that everybody had a really good attitude towards football. Yeah. We would train 2 hours, never any shorter than 2 hours.
Mhm.
I mean, you'd never finish an hour and 50 minutes. And people would stay behind and do extra runs
Aye.
every training session.
Yeah, it's
And we would train in everything. I remember weren't allowed to train in the pitch. We used to train in Grant Park at the time.
mhm.
Weren't allowed to train it because it was snowing. Must had a game on so soon, so you weren't allowed in it. So Charlie made us go to, if you come into Lossie just after the Scouts Hall, there's the bit of grass that slopes.
Aye.
It's the only pit you could get that had snow in it instead of ice. And we ran, I'm sure, for an hour and a half at least, I figure at 8 on that slope because it had streetlights. Because we didn't have the facilities like they have now. They didn't have artificial pitches in Lossie at that point.
Yeah.
And we couldn't have trained the pitch. And I don't think one person complained.
Yeah.
Well, they would have, but because that's just what you did.
Aye. Aye.
Getting Charlie stick as you're running past him, but everybody did it in 100%.
Can you remember the first time you came across Martin and the first time you came across Coco?
McMillan? Charlesworth?
Both Charlesworths.
Never played with Martin Charlesworth.
You never?
Never played with him.
Played
But he
against him.
trained all the time with
Yeah.
us and played against him a lot.
Mhm.
So he was like, because I was thinking back, I've never actually really played with Martin. I went back to help Charlie when Martin came to play for Lossie. So I helped Charlie a bit in coaching them,
Yeah.
but I was never playing at that point. So Colin was obviously when he was just came through from Elgin City through. So both of them would have been about the same time. Martin coming from Elgin to Bucky then, but trained with us.
Mhm.
I assume Bucky trained in Aberdeen either 1 or 2 nights.
Yeah.
So he trained with us at least once a week, and he was really good. He was good. He was good around the changing room and as well. He fitted in perfectly.
Yeah.
Where changing room, there wouldn't be many players that could fit in and hold a changing room like he did. Playing for another club,
Aye.
but he did because he was well liked and he socialised with us.
Yeah.
I'm sure he socialised lots with his teammates as well, but he socialised well with all of us. And Martin was nice to me as well. He was good with me. He used to invite me around to his house for like casino nights and poker nights and stuff. And he probably did it rinse my money, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, he was always kind because he was a lad, one of them, and yeah, he still was really nice. And Coco was, again, as many other folk have said, just it wasn't a great lad, just a really nice time, really nice lad. And even when you speak to Coco now, he's just a fantastic guy first and foremost, but a very talented player.
Yeah.
And barring the dreaded hamstrings and things, and I think obviously did his, I assume it was his ACL, but his knee anyway.
Mad thing is, when he was coming through the Elgin youth, I played in the same school teams as him and things. The player that he turned into, he was never that player as a kid. He was like a central midfielder as a kid and tidy passer of the ball and things, and he just turned into a greyhound.
Yeah, and he was pacey when he first came down to Lossie, and even at Lossie United, he was also pacey, but there was at one point, and I'm assuming maybe it was like his early 20s where he took that to another level.
Aye.
And he probably wasn't at Lossie too much longer after that.
Yep.
He would have moved on. I think it was it De Vale or Locals or the opposite way about, but
to Vale.
he certainly played for both of them, but he took that to a new level at that point.
Mm-hmm.
He was, and that was kind of me leaving, and him. He went in that direction to Vale right enough. He probably went with Charlie.
And you've got Chalk and Cheese and Liam and Ross.
Yeah. I think they are, and I would say they're beef cheese, but they're one's just a wee bit more fiery.
Aye.
But Liam can be fiery as well.
As that progresses, he's got older, like because
probably.
Aye.
Probably. I mean, naturally they're obviously like that, and that's great. Characters, and Ross is doing a great job at Lossie United now in terms of getting that across, and I think Ross is now learning in terms of moving to coaching how to use that constructively.
Aye.
You know, as a player, it's different. It's high standards, and that frustration is about high standards for other people.
Absolutely.
As a coach, you've got to deliver that differently, and he's definitely, the conversation I had with him, he's learning that. But they just had high standards, and they probably, I'd like to think, developed that from us, as they would see, older boys at the time. We had high standards for them, and we would give them stick, but we would usually go to them a wee bit later, even in the same session, the same game, and say, let's go again though. Okay, now bit of a roasting, and then a pick up. Let's go again.
Yeah.
And I see them doing snippets of that.
Aye.
Obviously, I'm not involved with them in that kind of way, but I see little bits of them doing that still, which is pleasing that they're using
Absolutely.
it, passing on, because that's what we all got.
Yeah. One of the names you mentioned earlier, and I keep trying to bring him up because I just thought he was a great player. Obviously, bashed by injuries, it was Dixon.
Yeah.
How was Dixon to play with?
Well, Dixon, I think Dixon's the same age as me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Luke's better, but he's definitely about the same age. And he took me under his wing at Lossie. Definitely. He was like, for such a young age, because I joined Lossie at young 20s, so he must have been the same. Certainly about the same age. And he definitely showed me the ropes, if you like. And that Devon Vale that I spoke about earlier on, such a shock, but and I think it was maybe Flight again that said how you can't just go into it and think you've cracked it. You have to a period of time into it.
Aye.
And he really helped me with that. And he's not an aggressive person. He's calm. He's such a nice guy, and he's not the biggest.
No,
but he got a lot of respect in that changing room, and because he was good for me with that, that helped me a lot get respect from other people as well.
Yeah.
And we played obviously the same position together, and I really enjoyed it. And I wish I had more years playing with Stevie, but ultimately it wasn't to be. And I was genuinely really, really glad when he had to stop. Kind of, Charlie had been there for a while, and I don't think he would have been with Charlie too long before he had to stop. But he deserved a lot of plaudits, and I helped organise a testimonial for him because he deserved it, because he was Lossie through and through.
Yeah.
But just a really nice guy and a good player.
Aye,
A really good player. A really good player. Yeah.
Right, this is my new question I've been adding. I think I can the answer. Who's your best player in your phone book?
The person you're thinking of would say was the best person in the phone book. So father-in-law's Steve Patterson. So I've seen videos and things, but everybody speaks about how good a player he was.
Did you ever see him at Elgin or that?
Ironically, so my dad made my mascot for Elgin, which I must have been 7 maybe, and I've got a photo of warming up. Elgin were playing Fort William that day, and my dad's favourite Elgin player then was a guy called Ali Jaffe.
Yep.
He was from Inverness, great player from what I can remember. He was forward. So when you do the mascot, that's who you go out with. And so I've got a photo of Ali Jaffe to my right, me doing a wee calf stretch, and to my left is Steve Patterson with his big perm hair. Obviously unknown to me at that point. I can't even remember him playing for Elgin, if I'm being honest. But I've got a photo of my warming up next to him as a mascot, which is just bizarre, coming full circle.
It feels a bit strange now.
I knew that photo existed and went back to it just as you do, like my dad had showed me it, and so that's Pelly right next to me. It's just bizarre. It's bizarre. So he would say this. I suppose he probably is the best player, but best football contact, slightly different question, who's doing really well is my wife's cousin, Jessica's cousin, Kyle Macaulay.
Yes, aye.
And he did something for the school this week, and he's probably got, he's got one of the dream jobs, isn't he, in some ways. Head of scouting at Man U, and he's done so well from Fochabers. The message for the kids at school is, doesn't matter where you're from, you can have big dreams and make it. And yeah, I played against Kyle when he was at Fort Martin, and he'd obviously made his way down, but very early decided, I'm not going to make it as a professional, I'm going to make another career in football, and he's done phenomenally well. Aye. And he's so humble, so laid back, just a really nice guy. But he's one I can like to drop into the kids at school, because it's like the football manager equivalent in real life, and he's scouting and buying players for Man U's pretty impressive. So
it is. So absolutely,
he's another one. But yeah, probably Pelly would be the best player.
It's weird because obviously it's the relation to Pelly. We got a guy we had on, Mark Critchley, a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah. He interviewed Kyle just before, I think.
Yeah, so
For the Athletic.
me that set that up.
Oh, was it?
Kyle had got a hold of us through the podcast because he was looking up stuff about Pelly and he came across the podcast. He messaged Ryan. Ryan's like fanboying at this time because he listens to Mark all the time. And he's like, there's a guy from Athletic just messaged you. So we managed to put him through Osher.
Yeah, Osher Williams.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
We put them two in touch and it just went through there. But yeah, it was just kind of, it went full circle, and a bit like Kyle, you know, it's weird to think that where he's came from to where he's at now, and it just, as you say, it shows kids it's possible. Like,
yeah, well, I think his best mates, and I can't for the life of me remember his name right now. His best mate in Lossie went into a media career, and he's probably got one of the best media jobs in the world. He's like a sports interviewer in Dubai.
Aye, wow.
I don't know if it's ESPN, he works for Dubai, but they've got like a TV program. He's got a podcast as well. So annoyed I can't remember his name. But they sit opposite each other and they've got a crowd behind them, and he interviewed Pelly, the football player, and the father-in-law, the real football player. And just the creme de la creme of top athletes. Ronaldo, I think he's interviewed him and so on, and he's over there in Dubai, and it's two boys for Fockerbers, and one of them is this major scout for Man U, and the other one's got the best media job you could argue in the world.
That's mental.
So it's just, it just shows you that I like it, obviously working in a school, that it's aspirational.
Absolutely. Right, here's another in. Like I like to see where people go with this, because sometimes it can be a negative thing, sometimes it's a positive thing. Can be something that you probably maybe even throw at me I would never expect. If you could change something about your career, what would it be? And it doesn't have to be anything. You could say, I'm happy with the career I had.
And I absolutely am. I absolutely maxed my potential.
Mm-hmm.
My one of my biggest assets was my attitude.
Yeah.
And nobody likes speaking about themselves being good at anything, but I had a good attitude.
And you achieved what you set out. You said, I want to play Highland League, and you did.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I couldn't have done any better than that.
Mm-hmm.
I did reach my potential. I wasn't even a top Highland League player. I never missed an opportunity there. I did everything I possibly could and played to the best of my ability. So I'm generally proud of that. And but things to change, minor things, I suppose. One thing was the best chance we had to win a cup with Lossie. We beat, this is when we were taking bigger scalps. We beat Bucky Thistle. I got a booking for Descent. Next game, quarterfinal for Martin. And I get a booking in the last minute. Just a bad challenge in the corner. It was a booking, there's no doubt. And the Descent was a booking, there's no denying it. But I regret that Descent one because it was cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And I missed the semi-final.
Right.
And I'm not saying, again, nowhere near confident or arrogant enough to say we would have won the game against Forest. It was a tight game. But 2 weeks before that semi-final, we played Forest, albeit at Grant Park, and we beat them.
Yeah.
And I played really well. I remember playing Kyle, who is a head teacher. That's my memory going again.
Kyle Scott.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
you really remember I've worked with him as well. He's a really nice guy. And I played really well against him, and he was a bit of they had loads of good players. He was one of their talisman at the time, and I played really well against him. And I was confident. I would have been confident going in there to try and get something, and I missed it through suspension.
Yeah.
And again, not suggesting, because if I played, we would have won. But I wish I had a part to play in that semi-final.
Aye. And
then you've got a final, and that was against Rothes, and Forest won that, and then they went on to win the league. So the Forest were a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
But I really regret that Descent, because it's cheap. It's really cheap, and it's frustration at the time. And I've probably had a few of them, but that cost me that occasion in the semi-final. So I kind of regret in some ways the way I left Lossie. Not in particularly terrible terms. Charlie done that, to be perfectly honest. He's done a few people. Basically, Charlie wanted to protect what he'd made at Lossie. Brian Bell played at Lossie as well, but he went away to Australia. Aye. And I'd kind of instigated Charlie. I think I'm wanting to leave. Just finding, to meet the standards, I was genuinely training myself on Monday for a couple hours, training Tuesday, train Wednesday, gym, train Thursday with the club. Friday I'd have the night off, stretching, not a very flexible person. Saturday play the game, Sunday I'd go for a swim, on repeat, just to try and stay in that squad and get better. So that was a lot.
Yeah.
Had a kid, and other reasons that I'm just finding it too much. I'm going to have to probably step down. So he said, while I went back and forth, I was trying to tell Charlie that really early out of respect to say I'm going. It wasn't like I'm leaving next week. So Charlie asked me to stay instead of the summer. Can you sign till October? Brian Bell's back then from Australia, and he's coming back in. I says, I'll do it. As I said before, do anything for Charlie.
Yeah.
Of course I will. Signed it, no problem. 1 week later, Charlie went to Devon Vale. Now that talks did not complete in 1 week. I remember him telling us in the middle of Grant Park and me storming. That's the only time I think I've huffed. Stormed off in a wee huff away into the changing rooms. I was furious. I was furious because he was leaving.
Aye.
Mainly, I think. But I was frustrated because I was now roped into October, and this is about springtime.
Yeah.
So, what then happened was we finished the season, and I thought, well, I will stay. Lossie's been good to me in lots of ways, and I've got teammates here that I like, so I don't want to ditch them. So I was committed to stay in October, but new manager came in, hard act to follow with Charlie, just didn't feel right, and I felt it was going to go downhill. Lots of players left because some were really good, talented players followed Charlie, went to other clubs.
Yeah.
And I knew there was a rebuild job happening at Lossie, and I'd been through the rebuild for the last 7 years, and I just wasn't prepared. And I was mentally struggling anyway.
Yeah.
So I wasn't prepared to go through it again. So I left Lossie kind of halfway through the pre-season of their pre-season. Obviously not out the back door, but it felt like the back door.
Aye.
And I'm wasn't expecting MD to have, oh, well done, Kev, and thanks very much and nothing, but it would have just been a nicer way to leave at the end of that season, knowing that was it.
Yeah.
And to be fair to Ian Campbell, actually, he's doing good things at Lossiemouth now, and a nice touch that he just asked me to sign this week was a captain's armband, and he's put photos up and he's putting it up in the social club, which is nice. But yeah, it wasn't even about that. It was just, it would have been a nice way to leave, knowing that was the way it was going to happen, and just smoothly making that transition.
Absolutely.
Not many regrets at all. Not many. I stopped football as well for a wee bit after New Elgin. Again, kind of split relationship, and had my daughter. 50-50. Football's second choice at that point.
Every time.
Took a bit of a break till I met my wife, Jessica, and her dad convinced me to go back. Well, they convinced me. It wasn't that hard. But I was able to, with her support, to go back playing football. So went to Dufftown for a couple of years. And now that I'm an old man and can't play football, the cliche of play as long as you can sticks. So 2 years out. 2 years out is, I would take that 2 years back if I could.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. And as you say, when it comes to family or football, there's only one winner.
Oh, absolutely.
Only one winner.
Yeah.
Short career, whereas your family's the rest of your life.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the way you've got to look at it.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't tell you about this thing, Kev.
No.
Ryan's going to play a wee recording in just a second.
Okay.
I want you to give me your thoughts and opinions, or tell us a story if you can.
Good to go, yeah.
Yeah.
Stories this morning, 6:34. One of the 4 lots of young football fans dream of being a mascot, of course. What about the age of 34?
This you'll see in a moment is Kev Stuart. He was on a stag do and he was actually tricked into being Blackpool's mascot. He walked out with the players ahead of their match against Bradford City on Saturday. I think he could have been a player, to be honest, until you see his footwear, which doesn't look his. I probably wouldn't be very fast with it.
No, it's not appropriate. But, as you say, he blended in quite well. And on the subject of clothing and appropriate outfits...
Do I see knees?
Well, I'm thinking...
Okay. So, I actually thought the shoes matched quite well. You don't really notice them in the photo.
No, and then until you scroll down a bit. But that's probably the nicest football compliment I've had from her. I blended in okay. That was quite a touch. I think I was next to Jay Speedon, and Oh, what's the brothers that were at Newcastle? Sean and
Longstaff.
aye. What's the other
Matty.
one? One of them was there at the other side of me.
Yeah.
So blending them with them is not too bad.
And if you don't know Kev, he's quite a tall guy. Jay Speeding's probably one of the smallest players you'll ever meet in your life.
That's right. Yeah, so I was standing in the tunnel and they'd obviously been, there was 3 other mascots of an appropriate age for being a mascot. And I assumed Jay Speeding was the kind of head of the changing room, and he came out and he says, "Oh, I'm taking you." So he goes and I'm standing behind him looking down on him. No, and then obviously we went out, I'm standing in front of him, you couldn't even see him behind. So yeah, that made a lot of attention.
I think it was one of the, like, it's a regular thing these days, but at the time,
it wasn't. There would be no 1 or 2, I think, but
Yeah.
I think that was like the highest profile club, if you like. You know, normally it was like non-football league kind of stuff,
Aye.
and obviously Blackpool at the time were in a bit of a demise themselves with their board, but yeah, it got a lot of attention because of the shoes, which is a story in itself, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I got lucky in the sense that it got attention, if that's such a thing, because one of the shoes, and there was a photographer there who fires it out to Sports Bible and all that. So it made a lot of traction, social media wise, that way. And obviously, like you said, being at Blackpool was a reasonably sized club for it. And I got offers. I got offers from Judge Judy to go on afterwards to sue my best man for putting me up to it.
That's insane.
I know. The flights and hotel paid, and I thought, can't name my job. It's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. So that was a missed opportunity, if you like. But I'm going to say I think, but I know at the time when like BBC's News Up and everything, it was like top story, and there was things about Messi and on that day. So I've got like stupid screenshots. I was bigger news than Messi for one day of my life in Britain and BBC
Love
News.
it.
So it was all in good fun. Mates absolutely stitched me. Didn't even remotely, it's daft now to even think that was going to happen, but I didn't even remotely. I sat up at the hospitality, opened up the programme, flicking through, unbeknown to me, they're all staring at me because they know it's coming. Turned a page, a couple of mascots, and then my photo was the bottom one. Disaster. So, and the story of the shoes quickly was, obviously they gave you the kit. You went down, I got changed in a room next to the referees. And I came out, a proper old school, you know how you get all these stories historically of an old tea lady. So Blackpool still had their old tea lady. She probably was at that club for years and decades. And I reckon at the time she would have been 70s. So she took me downstairs. She met me outside the hospital and she says, "Come down here, and lovely lady, and in you go, take your clothes in there and just come out. I'll be out here after you." Just lovely spoken lady. "You want a cup of tea?" All that kind of stuff, right? So went out, got changed, came back out, and I said, "I've no got shoes. I've only got these shoes. I've got no footwear. Surely somebody's got football boots or something. I can't go out in bare feet." And she says, "I'll see what I can do." So she says, "Pop up with your mates." So I walk back upstairs, whole hospitality, round of applause. I've got full kit, wanker basically. She came back up and I says, "Did you get my shoes?" And she says, "Oh, somebody's getting them for you. They're going to get it to you once you get down to the tunnel. They're just going to meet you there." I says, "Thanks very much. I really appreciate it." So anyway, away back down I go, meet them just before the players are coming in. She's down there and I says, "Where's that shoes? Where's the football boots and anything?" And she said, and I'm not going to say it because I'll get in trouble from my work. She said, whispered in my ear, she was, like I say, all soft, and then she turned around and she went, "Listen, your mates have came here to make you a CUNT. You're going to go out on that pitch and be made one. Out you get." Handed my brogues back and away I went out. Had no choice. So that was she. She was the ring leader of it all. A 72-year-old tea lady absolutely wanted to make a fool of me. But that's probably what got traction on the day, more than anything. So
Brilliant.
it was all good fun. They were great, and it was a great day.
Brilliant, Kev. Oh God.
And I had like 5,000 Bradford fans saying
all sorts.
again, I'll not say it, but all sorts to say the least.
Right. Played at a couple of successful New Elgin teams. You played in a a strong Lossy team we're back in. It's the best team / dressing room you're a part of.
It's different questions.
Okay, best team you played in.
I mean, that's tough, really tough. Probably either between the first New Elgin team or the Lossy team that Charlie had built. Yeah, and that Lossy team, we've obviously mentioned New Elgin, but the Lossy one was filtered with really good players, young, experienced, and that was probably the best dressing room.
Yeah.
And that's probably what made that team equally a bit better.
Aye.
So, yeah, hard to split between that two teams in some ways. Great times at both of them, but it's certainly not by a much, because all the dressing rooms I've been in have been fantastic, but the Lossy one just felt like really, really nice, comfortable place to be and enjoyable.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Progresses the football, a good dressing room. I'm blessed in the fact that my ladies team, they are socialised together, they are drinking together, and it's not just 4 or 5 of them, there's 18 of them out.
Yeah.
And I think that helps us on a Sunday every week.
And that's hard because they're obviously playing this Sunday.
Yeah.
It must be a Sunday night and works for most, isn't it, Monday?
Aye. Mondays can be rough for me sometimes. Like, I'm hoping I've got a rough in a few weeks' time. Like,
that'd be nice. That would be nice.
Right, you're moving into coaching.
Yeah.
Licenses or anything like that? Did you do the pathway?
I had the old C license.
Yeah.
Did it with Parks. So when I was leaving Lossy, potentially, there was talk of me doing coaching with Lossy at that point with Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And the club put me through C licence with a boy, Sean McIntosh. He was an hour player. I've not really mentioned much. He came through a lot of my football. He's a great guy. So, but I think it expired, and I haven't actually ever went back and did them. I've got that 1.1, 1.2, 1.3.
Yep.
And in some ways, I harbour ambitions to do licensing again. And I'm not one of them that's an advocate of, you don't really need licenses and things. I'm not saying you do either, but I learn a lot. Is what I'm trying to get from my license. I did learn a lot.
Yep.
And it was good network of people you were learning from as well. And I'm a huge believer, again, my job, that you never stop learning. And anybody who thinks they've cracked anything, particularly coaching, you're going backwards straight away with that kind of attitude. So yeah, lots to learn. It's just, you're just juggling family, and when you're in a role of football, which is time consuming, then try to fit in badges is really tricky. Really tricky. So it's almost something that I would harbour to do when not coaching. Bizarrely.
You've hit the nail on the head there. It's like you can only be invested in things so much without taking attention away from other things you're invested in.
Yeah.
And it's such a fine balance. Like I'm blessed in that my partner looks after the little one constantly. I'm out coaching 3 nights a week, game on a Sunday. This summer I'm finishing off my licenses and things like that. And it's like, if you don't have that strong support behind you, you've got absolutely no chance.
No, and I'm lucky in that regards, and Jessica, my wife, really supported me in terms of the coaching things. I'm just not at my grand old age, and I have 2 older kids and then 2 younger ones, and I'm feeling a wee bit like a granda in the sense that I'm getting a chance again with them, and I just try to get that balance right.
Yeah.
Try to be around them, and that's what I struggle with most. The things that I enjoy doing, I can't do them half-hearted. So I invest a lot of time in it. So family really takes a bit of an impact. And then at the minute, I've obviously kind of stopped the coaching a wee bit more in the committee of Loss United, because it was just getting it was just ran my course with it. And yeah, family's back to being a bit of a more of a priority, but I'm struggling not having as much of the football. Yeah, I really struggle to get that balance right in my life.
I don't think there's anyone that's got the key to it. There's none of us getting paid $100,000 a week to do coaching. And as much as it would be fine, I think it would take the emphasis off a family, off a going out and earning a living. Actually, I feel as well, and I get points throughout the season because I've been coaching 5-6 years now, where I really struggle. I feel like I'm not getting any new ideas, and I think I'm not enjoying this just now. And it's sometimes maybe a game that kickstarts it again, or I have a really good session. I think, all right, okay, maybe I can. But you get sticky points with it, and you can get so invested in it, you actually lose a bit of interest in it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I had my coaching with Lossie for United with 3.5 years. I mean, I'd been doing the 20s at Lossie for 2 years before, and that's a huge commitment. Probably similar to what you're getting to a certain degree at the ladies' team, in the sense that you're not a one-man band, but you're doing a lot more than you would like, more of a team around you.
Aye.
And that's supportive. And when you're a youth coach, you do a lot. You organise the players, but you organise the games a lot of times.
Parents.
It's a lot. So that was a lot before I even went to Loss United. Had a little break before Ian Campbell was on the phone. Loved doing the coaching at Loss United, and I miss it. There's no denying I miss it. But just between work, just new ventures within work that'll take up a bit more of my time, and then family, just the age they're at, it's just harder to be away. And then just like circumstances that ultimately the thing that has to go is your hobby.
It does.
And I was so invested in it. Like, obviously, game Saturday, try and make as most of them. That was my biggest problem. I couldn't make every single Saturday. My wife's a police officer, so she works shifts, and you can't get childcare all the time. So, but Saturday, Sunday, video analysis, even North Juniors or North Scotland League, video analysis, and then training your session. Their session we were Monday, so you would do your work out, your plan your session the Sunday, do the session on Monday. Tuesday, we used to do in the high school. We used to look at video footage, so we'd pull that presentation together, plan your game, your session. Thursday, do your session. Friday, day off. Saturday, rinse row again.
Aye.
That's a lot of hours. I don't watch TV. I don't get time for TV.
No.
So, and I kind of have I think I've always got a breaking point of like about 3-4 years of that, and I'd completed it. And the club were in a sticky point at that point with results, and I did genuinely feel new voices would have helped. And to be fair, that's what's happened. Connor Mackenzie, who I've briefly mentioned, but he'll make a good coach if he continues it. I hope he does. And Ross, who we spoke about, will also make a good coach. And they had different opinions to Scott Campbell, and they were right. They were right. And I, at that point, wasn't seeing that. So it's never easy, that transition.
Yeah.
But it was probably the right move.
Absolutely.
For me, certainly, as an individual, and personally, it was the right move for me.
When you were at Loss United, were you part of the day out at Auchinleck?
Do you know what? That's my biggest. There you go. There's my biggest regret.
Okay.
Because I couldn't make it, because it's not her fault. But my wife was working that weekend.
Yeah.
And tried to get childcare for a fool, because they went down on the Friday.
Aye, of course they did.
Saturday, I never made the Auchinleck game.
Yeah.
Which you're still really proud of it, because you built a bit that went to it, but. All my best memories of football have been a long bus journey home.
Aye.
And some of them have been after heavy defeats.
Yeah.
So after a shock of that magnitude, that would have been a special one.
Aye.
But it's funny because that was a huge game. But with the week, it was the next game after, we were playing away at Derwenside the year before we got beat there. And this is, we obviously did go and win that league. Going there, maybe try to make myself feel a little bit better, but we won the game there, and they're Astro, and it was windy, and they're a tough team to play against anyway. And I said, that's a bigger result than Auchinleck. Not campaigning it, but in terms of what our ambition that year was to win the league,
that
was a vital game for us.
Yeah.
But I was really just trying to soften the blow because I missed the Auchinleck, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Brilliant.
So I know, sorry I missed it, but
these things happen.
Things happen. That's again, it. Priorities.
Right, before we get in your 11, Kev, you'd have so many here because you captain Lossie, you had a long period in the Highland League, you achieved your dream of actually what you wanted to achieve playing in the Highland League. Proudest achievement in your football career?
It's hard, but mainly because I feel quite grounded in playing in the Highland League alone was a good achievement for me. It was, and did captain Lossie for years, and was player of the year for 1 year, which was a great, again, a pretty proud of managing to do that because there's been good players at Lossie. And then New Elgin, 3 titles. It's pretty good. There's plenty of better players than me that haven't won league titles at that level, and won cups as well, and won a few player of the years there. So proud of that. No denying. And then was really disappointed with my kind of Dufftown spell, but one thing I was proud of with New Elgin and Dufftown was playing the part that's the highest they've ever been in terms of hierarchy of leagues. So Dufftown, with Mo as manager, did pretty well in that season that I finished up, and New Elgin was the same. I think we must have been.
Were you at Dufftown under Pelly the year before?
Yeah. So it was Pelly that asked could I come back in. I joined at the end of the season after was coaching Lossie. They finished Highland League season, finishes always earlier. And then Dufftown always finish a late season, don't they, because of their pitch. So I joined them for about 5 games at the end of the season, and then full year, and then a second full year. Yeah. But Alan Murray was the chairman at the time, and knew Alan pretty well. It was at Alan's wedding because grew up with his wife Sarah.
Okay.
So kind of knew them. So yeah, that's how I ended up at Dufftown. So yeah, I was chuffed that they got them, and New Elgin was part of being top of the Super League as far as up at that time. And then can't deny even Lossie United different. Never the same as playing football, but 3 years is a good achievement to go and win that league.
Aye, absolutely.
To build a team from nothing. Literally we turned up on a Tuesday, I think it was at that point, on the pitch. Who wants to play football?
I remember Scott telling us there must have been through about 100 players in a couple of years.
Yes, and he's got it written down.
Yeah.
Aye, we'll have. That's no mean feat.
No,
and
not at all.
And that's something to be proud of. Part of that, part of what the club is just now is going in a good direction community wise and things. It's a really nice club to be a part of. So yeah, that's another one. But I was probably obviously mulling it over. You know what I really like now as a dad? Seeing my kids doing their own connectivities and how proud you get, all that stuff, even if whatever they're doing, you wouldn't have are. Yeah. And wee boy who at the minute's interested in football and he can go his own course what he wants. But my mum and dad used to watch loads of games of football. And I'm pretty chuffed achieving that they obviously liked watching me playing football. Because I've got that happening for me now with my own kids. Yeah. So I'm pretty proud of that, and a different kind of level as well.
That's it. And like as you say, it's almost a changing of the guard. You've went from being that one getting watched to the one watching, and
the grandparents come and watch the wee as well. He'll be popular. And to be fair, he was born, and within 1 hour, Pelly had told me, by the way, he shares a birthday with Diego Maradona, so Pelly's got him set for whatever career. Hopefully, it's just a football career. As the only path he follows, the like of him.
Dad playing Highland League. Granda played for Man United. No pressure, kid.
He'll go his own course at the minute. He's more happy pushing a pram and a Hoover about, to be honest. So we'll see what happens.
Right, Kev, I'm going to get asked you to just read me through your 1 to 11. I love that you've put a physio in because he's one of the best guys ever. He still helps us out now.
Does he help the ladies as well?
I dips in now and again. Yeah, and he actually texted me when I first took over, and he says, if there's anything you need injury wise, he says, I'm just a phone call away, a text away. I can easily pop in any time. But we've also got through him, we've got Catherine Graham working with us. We've got a girl, Caitlin Smith, she's a personal trainer as well. Great. And it's opened up doors for us, and things like that. But just a nice guy in general.
So Andy Jones is phenomenal. So he was part of Charlie's plan of really adding the professionalism at the club. We had a guy, Donny, and a nice guy, Keith Mitchell, at New Elgin as well. And these are folk giving up their time for nothing. They were, and really helped. But Andy took it a new level, and I did struggle with some injuries. Dufftown, I really struggled. I didn't perform well at Dufftown, nowhere near what I wanted to, and I feel quite sad about that because I had a hip injury and had to get an operation within a year of finishing football that I still can't run from. But Andy, for a lot of the time, kept me in pieces and stuff, and he was also a soundboard. He'd listen to you, and he wasn't heavily into football, but into kind of rugby, and he's obviously into, now he's a maniac as triathlon and ultras and things like that. But sometimes that impartial advice was really good.
Yeah.
And he never saw you stuck. And he would always work stupid hours to help you.
Mm-hmm.
That time he was in, when I was at Lossie, he was the physio. I mean, what a great asset that was. He was there twice a week and Saturdays as well. But as you said, just a great guy and always tried to do the best for you. And I don't think I'd have managed as much football without him.
Yeah.
So that's why he got stuck in.
Brilliant. I'll get you to read me your 1 to 11, and then we'll go through a couple of them, and then I'll get you to give me your bench, because there's one I want to ask about in particular. So 1 to 11, 4-4-2. I love it. A bit old school. Nothing wrong with 4-4-2.
Like a 4-4-2.
Aye.
I like the 4-4-2 as a centre half.
I bet. Aye. You came what's beside you. You came what's either side of you as
Yeah,
well.
it was easy to organise. And I actually felt a lot of clubs, obviously, a lot of clubs play 4-3-3 now. And they feel that's defensive, like 4-5-1 it can fall into. I felt as a centre half and had views as a coach, although Lossiemouth United played 4-3-3 a lot as well. But I felt it was easier to defend with having 2 strikers to work the back line.
Yeah.
Than 1 striker that they could get further forward. I could organise around that as long as they shifted it across. Anyway, 4-4-2 was my preferred formation. Not exclusively only, but that was my preferred. So, and it was probably a fit for some people. Some people will be out of positions in this, and I have deliberately went for some other names because a lot of the names I've mentioned before are rightly would be ones that would be right up there with me. But I just think there's a couple other folk in there that maybe haven't been as mentioned as much and would probably due a wee bit of credit from that time. So Minnie is still number 1. No surprise there. Played with him for years. Great goalie. Could speak about him all day. Jum, Stephen Sim, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Joined me at Lossie, and then he followed me, but he came at the same time with me back to New Elgin, and he moved into centre half. Then I've got my right back, but great. I don't think he gets enough credit.
I heard as good a player as well, and he could be a bit of a knitter sometimes. Did like a booking or two.
He's a knitter now, clearly, because he's away for that
boxing match.
I saw I was laughing at him. Comment on his post, somebody saying most folk take up golfing at this stage. What are you doing, you maniac? But I would never have said he was mad. He was just
passionate.
I don't even like saying aggressive, like that's a bad thing. He was just really committed and strong. He has been part of at New Elgin. He was part of a fight after a teammate, and it was a naked fight in the changing room. They just folk coming to blows, and they were just getting unchanged, and it just came to blows at the point of absolute nakedness. So that was a sight. But he was just really committed and just really. But he was a really good player. Aye. He was so good at right back for Lossie a lot of time. A bit centre half in New Elgin. I won Player of the Year at the year, but it was because I was leaving New Elgin. Aye. And I think it was an attempt to maybe change my mind. But he should have been Player of the Year that year. He was phenomenal. Yeah, so he gets a shout. Scott Bowie, don't know if he's been mentioned before.
No, I don't think so.
So Scott, I played with him at Dufftown. He should have played Highland League a lot more. Played at Rothes for a wee bit. Is probably the reason he's very committed to Dufftown. So just stays outside Dufftown. Great centre half, strong, pacey. Doesn't speak enough probably. Would be the only slight thing, but he covered me. He covered me at Dufftown. I was nowhere near good enough. He covered me. He had all the attributes to be a really good Highland League player, and it's definitely worth a mention. MD at Dufftown, he would be currently the most spoken about person for Dufftown. He's highly thought of up there and really committed. And obviously Dufftown recently have been, they don't seem to be on a bit of a rise, but they've struggled in terms of where they were in Super League and kind of lost boys as boys have got older and things, but he's stuck through with them as well, so very loyal. JJ Uckert, spoke about him before.
Yeah.
Brilliant player. Just loved playing with him. So good. Sam Milton, which I thought, obviously Fletty's had quite a few, but Sam Milton was a really good left back. Yeah. He's another maniac. He does running just ridiculous amounts, and he's so fast. And but when he was at Lossie, and I think Charlie was really good with him,
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of him,
I think Charlie got the best out of him.
oh, I definitely.
Yeah.
Because he came last to New Elgin and he played well, but he didn't play as well as he did at Lossie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was because Charlie was in his ear a lot.
Aye. Okay.
I'm guessing. Sam when he was playing well for Lossie he was tipped to go to the Buckies of the world and things at that point. He was a top player, and I think he went. I don't know if he went offshore. Or it just didn't happen for him. But he was a really good player. I think he was a Birkhead lad. Midfield, Mikey Green, Nishi played with him at New Elgin.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the ball off him.
It's a fair footballing family as well.
Aye, absolutely. Spoke to Pele about some of them as well, but yeah, Nishi was a really talented player.
Yeah.
Just so quiet, and yeah, I remember him coming out of training, watched him for Elgin. Knew he was a good player, but I was thinking I could probably try and get him. I remember him selling my dummies and everything, just making absolute fools out of me. So yeah, he was a really good player. Mark McMillan, still could not put him in him. He's secondary school. I was with him there, and a long time at Lossie. So
Still play Highland League now.
he's doing what I miss not being able to play football, and I'm actually quite jealous of the fact that he can still get about a pitch and things like that, and he's still really committed. But Martin was a good player.
Mm-hmm.
There's no denying. But his best thing was he was so committed.
Aye.
And he would run, and he was able to physically able to do that. But yeah, he was a good player as well. Put Stevie Ellison beside him.
Yeah.
Because again, played football a lot of these ones I went for is folk I played with for more than just a short space. Not all of them, but most of them played for a long time. And Stevie he could. I wonder if he did play at Nairn though. I wonder if he won a league. He certainly won a cup, I'm sure, in Nairn. Mo would be able to tell you because he was there with Stevie Ellis, but Stevie Ellis was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Giving the ball in tight situations and just more technical.
Yeah.
Cotter.
Yeah.
Played with him at New Elgin before I played with him at Lossie as well, to be fair, but bothered with his knee and then in the coaching. But
I've been on a pitch next to him coaching and just stood there watching, and I'm like, that's different level.
He was a different level player. I remember. So me and Scott Dunbar, my mate I mentioned before, used to be in Elgin City's changing room as like kit boys.
Aye.
And Cotter was in at the time. So I watched Cotter a lot on a lot of that players, and Cotter was some player. He played I can't remember who the manager was then, but they played a 3-5-2. He was the left side in his engine. And I remember him once playing at Barra Briggs, and he literally dribbled all the way for left back through about 6-7 boys and tapped it in. He was phenomenal. And New Elgin, he obviously wouldn't have been at that level, but he was good. And he made another one of my players, striker Craigie Moe. He gave him barrel loads of easy finishes because he would skin boys. So he's such a good player and such a nice guy, like we've said. So Craigie Moe gets the nod as well because I played with him at New Elgin, scored lots of goals, played on Lossie, was really good with me at Lossie, did well at Lossie, went on to Keith and did really well at Keith. Possibly part of their title winning team, actually.
Okay.
Sure, as soon as he hears this, he'll correct me if he'll tell me. And Biscuits, I kind of had to put him in again because he was a special player too.
Yeah.
And I had to do subs because these players don't deserve any less, or just the probably reasons is because I played with them for a little less time.
Aye.
Is the only difference. So Dixon was in there, great player, and just what he did for me at Lossie. Mo, definitely didn't play with Mo at the top of his career, played against him when he was at the top of his career, but took that into account as well. Mo's a very good manager, by the way.
Yeah.
I know you all have seen that, but I think a lot of people have perception of what Mo would be like as a manager. And I did before Pele. Mo was assistant for Pele, and then Pele left, and Mo said, could I stay on? And I felt I owned it to him and Dufftown, but I wasn't sure what I was going to get. He was brilliant. He was my kind of manager in the sense of he would hand out the bollocks when he needed to. He would speak to you straight. But he wasn't like that all the time, which was the perception I probably had. Would he be fiery all the time and lose the meaning behind what he's trying to say because he delivers it the same way? He was very good. He was very good.
Team talks are on point as well.
Yeah, he was really good. I really enjoyed playing for Mo. wish it was better circumstances for kind of me and it was a better level for him. But yeah, and I've probably got to know him a little bit better since that as well. But a very good player as well.
Yep.
Nicky Smith.
Yep.
Don't know how much he's been spoken about. He was
A couple of times, like, yeah.
Oh, when he was peak. He went to Bucky. He was a Bucky lad. When he was peak, of us probably the best we were at Loss. When I was at Lossie, he was phenomenal. Him and Biscuits. Nicky could finish it. He was bigger and stronger. I remember him being at Rothes as a young boy and he was small and he didn't make it. At that point, he went back to Bucky Rovers, I think, and then when he came back with vengeance.
Yep.
Boy Andy Monroe.
I've had a mention of Andy Monroe, but I think there was 2 Andy Monroes, was there? I kind of think.
One that plays for Forfar, but it's definitely not him.
No,
Or did.
maybe they then.
Andy wouldn't be highly spoke of in the referee community. But I see the other side of Andy as well, and he's the nicest guy ever. But Andy was a very talented player at New Elgin. And he was at the first spell
Yep.
and the second spell.
Right, okay.
Really good player. He was from Kirriemuir, moved up here, Fire Brigade, his wife, Natalie. She worked at the Elgin Academy as well. I worked a wee bit with her. But he was a really good player. He could play any position, and he did play any position. He came at Dufftown with me as well.
Yeah.
Defence, midfield, and he played up front, and he had an engine, he had time in the runs. He should have played Highland League. He was a fireman, and I think he found that tricky. And his wife's job, and then kids, and just things you do. He should have played Highland League, because if he's happy, much like Connor McKenzie in juniors, then good for you. Well done, absolutely.
Aye.
But he was capable of playing Highland League, and I think we even kind of tried pacing him at Lossie, but he just wasn't for it. Sentimental one, goalkeepers. My mate Scott Dunbar. Scott was a good goalie when he was younger.
Scott, who does Scott play for? Because I know Scott through my partner. She obviously works for the same
JC?
company. Yeah, works for JC and Scott, and you know, has known him for many years. I know of Scott. Scott knows of me. We say hello when we see each other and things like that. Yeah, and what kind of level did Scott get to?
Well, when Scott was a really good at youth, he was a better player than me at the kind of same age. So we were best friends at kind of secondary school, and still are. And he was, like I say, he was like North of Scotland, involved in all that stuff. And here's me kind of timpering away, couldn't get in the Elgin team. So and I think he even did he trained with Carly at some point for a week. With Pelly, and Pelly will mind that, and that's not Scott. Pelly kind of mind very much, to be perfectly honest. But he went to New Elgin, didn't make it Elgin, went to New Elgin, and he struggled with making mistakes. So he crumbled. And he would say that himself.
Yeah.
And you know, he's really good with, he came to coaching with Lossiemouth United, and he's been, you know, he was really good for me. And that's the advice he's given, you know, and I kind of see that now. You finish, like, football's really important. You come out of it, you kind of think, a wee bit of perspective as well. And winning's really important. Like, see that Blackpool thing, all that boys weren't Lossie was more pumped than any of them. They were all relaxed. I don't know if that's because of their job or whatever, but I think they performed the best they did. They went in my different mindset.
Aye.
And I think even me as a player, I went in constantly try to prove folk wrong for being, in my opinion, rubbish, criticised as a youth. Constantly try to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And actually, I wish I wasn't trying to play football that way. It was just with confidence. I've never been it. And he suffered with making mistakes. Goalkeepers do it.
Yeah.
And he struggled with that. So he never really took it on any further.
Okay.
He's didn't have many other goalies apart from Minnie. And he's been a good support for me. And yeah, he was worth his salt when he was younger, certainly.
Brilliant.
And then, not surprisingly, manager. Well, I suppose it is. It's not surprisingly, but I have had good managers. Gary Wood was so good for me at the time.
Yeah.
Because he was calm, nae a shouter. That's what I needed after struggling with that.
Did Gary ever take part in training?
Yeah, a little bit. Knees were going though. Gary was apparently a phenomenal player. Everyone I speak to.
That's what I've heard from just about everyone I've spoke to.
He was struggling a bit. You could see he was a player.
Aye.
But as you do, we all get older, you just don't have the... he's just going to get about the pitch the same. So, yeah, he would have been involved in training, but lightly.
I think he was part of that legendary Elgin Boys Club team that I had. And I remember asking Russell, I think, should I ask Russell about this? I says, who was the best? He says, Gary Wood by a mile.
He went down Motherwell and things, didn't he?
That's right, aye. Yeah.
But a nice guy, and he was just so good for me at the time because he was not ranter and shower, and he could do that to a certain degree. But he was the right person for me at that time, so he was good for me with that regards. Charlie was phenomenal, man management. Mo was really good. And Pelly struggled, I think, with the level and the change in changing rooms. You know, he would have, I assume, in the Carleys and the Huntleys and the Elgins, he'd have been the lad in the middle of it. And he obviously struggled with that as he got older to do that kind of role.
Yeah.
And it's just changed. He would have had enforcers in the changing room as well that would have done the Dave Morlands or the Eddie Coots, I think it was his name, wasn't it?
Eddie Copeland.
Copeland, sorry.
Aye.
Eddie Coots is the old ref. Eddie Copeland. And I can think of the other clubs he'd been to. There'd have been people who would have been, that I had as well, but would have done that stuff. And the high standards in the changing room. He would have had to done less of that. Changing rooms like that don't exist anymore.
That's it. Well, remember when we spoke to him, and Ryan will probably laugh when I say this, but he was on about, he was at Dufftown and he was going through who was available for the weekend, and one of the boys couldn't make it because he had to make his girlfriend, his gran a birthday cake.
I can't think who that was, to be honest. I'm not entirely sure that's true, to be perfectly honest. But I'll tell you, there was one player, Boy Duncan Ord, who used to play for Elgin. Again, remember him, and he was Cooter manager, and he told us at Dufftown game that somebody was unavailable because they were going shopping with the missus. I would do anything to go to the shopping, full stop. Never mind giving up a game of football. So I'm sure it was Duncan Ord, but I might have got that wrong. But that philosophy, I feel like, does exist more now than ever before. It's changing times. So yeah, but Charlie gets a nod because he was phenomenal, and I would have done anything for him, like I said.
Absolutely.
Still would.
Well, before I get to the last question, it's been a pleasure, Kev. It's been really good to look back, get a wee bit of different insight, and
I enjoyed it. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
No worries at all, mate. And I like getting people on to have listened before as well, and you get to answer your own questions, because sometimes you'll be thinking, oh, right, I don't know where, like, as I say, I keep going back to the computer interviews, but maybe people that I'll know a bit less of, but because you're local, you're not getting the same stories, but you're getting the same names coming up, and you start to build up a picture of everyone. So it's really good.
Like I said, I'm struggling to find stories after
Fletty
and biscuits and everybody else. Cheaper shots, man. Okay, I can't say that.
Well, as I can tease to you is that Martin McMullen is going to be on the next episode. His wife has had health issues, and we've had a few reschedulings and that, but we've been in talks for months. And he is coming on. Martin's a great guy. I've got a lot of time for him, as probably you will. You know what kind of player he is, but the player doesn't match the personality. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
He is. Yeah, I've had great times with Martin as well, away for football.
Yeah, brilliant guy. And then we're continuing this Highland League winter, as we're calling it. We're keeping our run going. Just remember, if you want to get a football journal season ticket, get in touch with us, but also just give us a wee follow, because it just helps, helps get our name out there, helps more people. There's thousands of people like the Highland League, and we're mostly a Highland League / Murray based football podcast. So if you want to hear me about that, just join in. 63 episodes in now. We're on the road to 100.
You're getting there.
15 episodes time. That's going for 3 years, and I just find it a bit surreal.
It's good. Your numbers are very impressive. Viewer wise.
Absolutely, mate. And you know what? If somebody says to me, you didn't get the viewers, but you still get to sit and chat about football, I can't give a shit. I'll sit and chat about football all day.
Yeah, I know. And, but the viewers is an indication you're doing well.
Yeah, it means other people are enjoying it, so I'll keep it going. One penalty to save your life. Who takes your penalty?
Definitely not me.
Have you ever taken one in?
I've taken in 2 semi-finals.
Okay.
2 misses.
In shootouts, yeah.
One, both from Elgin in separate times. First one was a real heartbreak at the time, because the final was supposed to be at Pittodrie, which I would have liked to have played in, and I thought I'd missed that and would get knocked out by Bankery. As it turned out, I think a rugby game got put into Pittodrie, so the game was it for Martins. But yeah, I've missed 2 penalties.
Okay. Would you have been the kind of boy in a shootout that would have put your name forward for?
No.
Nah.
But the New Elgin one, both of them, I didn't shirk it. There was just people who put their names forward,
Mm-hmm.
and then they came that, you know, that was, we were even at that point. And I said, I'll do it in sudden death, which wasn't the best choice in retrospect, but I wasn't shy of still putting my name forward to do it.
Aye.
But first penalty was actually a good, decent save, okay save. Second one was a really poor penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I'm out. I'm not
Okay.
doing it. No. So messaged himself last night, Pelly, and said, because he's told me this before, I'm sure, and I says, have you missed a penalty? Straight away, nope. And then he sent back, what did he put? 0 yellow cards. No, 1 yellow card in my lifetime, 0 red cards, and then player of the year in Japan, all this stuff, beat Uruguay. And I was like, right, I just asked you about the penalties. But I'm pretty sure I've saved his life quite a few times.
Aye.
So he's due me one, so I'll put him forward for my penalty shoot.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Top man, Kev, thank you for your time,
No,
mate.
thank you. I really appreciate it. Been enjoyable. Thank you.
The Football Journals is now on Patreon. If you sign up on Patreon for just £5 a month, you can get access to our upcoming guests and the chance to ask your own questions, the ability to watch our podcast with full video exclusive, audio only on all other platforms. You can get your episodes earlier than anyone else, sometimes a few days, sometimes a week, but you will get your episodes earlier than everyone else. Chance to request guests of your choice. We will do them our utmost to get them on the show, if obviously within reason. I can't go asking Cristiano Ronaldo on the show. And 1 bonus episode per month. There's already a bonus episode on there. You'll get a further bonus episode every month. Sign up today at patreon.com/footballjournals, capital F, capital J. That's a sign up today at patreon.com/footballjournals, capital F, capital J.